Okay, the number of attendees are still going up, but as we have a tight schedule, maybe we start. So, welcome to all of you to the virtual COMPAMED and the session on printed diagnostics and 3D printing. My name is Thomas Dietrich. I'm CEO of IVAM, Microtechnology Network, and during the virtual COMPAMED, as we do normally during the real COMPAMED, we organized a forum all 4 days with different sessions. And of course, we have a lot of partners to help us to organize this. And one very important partner is, of course, VTT. So I'm very happy that Ilkka could organize this session again, as in the past years. We are living in difficult times all over the world, and so as we all know, the real meetings at a fair are very important to build trust and give and start new businesses. But for now, the virtual kind of doing these kind of fairs is the only way we can do it, and so we are very grateful to Messe Düsseldorf that they organized a platform where we can do these kind of discussions and presentations. And so everything, especially in the medical technology, turns now around COVID and therapies and diagnostics around COVID. But there are a lot of other subjects we have to take care about, and some of them we will hear today. So again, thank you very much for joining, and Ilkka, thank you very much for organizing. So I hope I will see you all during the next meetings too, during the B2B meetings and during the get-togethers we organized. And with this, I wish you a successful session and hand over to Ilkka, please.
Okay, hello, thank you, Thomas, for the introduction. So my name is Ilkka Kaisto, and I'm coming from VTT. I have been also strongly involved in the PrinterCenter related activities, and now I'm working as a senior advisor there. What we have today is the printed diagnostics and 3D printing session. And just to share the program. Thanks for Thomas, we have a grand opening. And next presenter will be from Screentec Oy, Roelof, Aalpoel, about mass manufacturing solutions for medical devices and hybrid sensors. So totally we have in our session 6 presentations. So having this kind of a webinar, it's a quite long time. So depending how full time the present thing will be, maybe we should have a small break there in between anyhow. But now I think it's time to hear the story from Screentec. Please take your floor. Roelof, I'm stopping my sharing now.
Okay, and I'll take over. So, hello everybody. My name is Roelof Aalpoel. Let's just start this slideshow here. Sadly coming to you now from our office in Finland because of the extenuating circumstances. And hopefully next time we'll actually be able to be on location in Düsseldorf again. So, yes, printed electronics and what it can do for you. So first off, because I have 20 minutes, I'll start with a little information about our company. And then about some of the stuff that we do. And I actually have some customer cases as well. Got some feedback last year that it would be nice to have some customer cases, and I agree. But luckily, some of our customers and partners have finally allowed us to share some information about what we actually do in practice. So, Screentec, we have quite a complicated structure at the moment. The turnover, well, it's the latest data available is about 2 million from 2019. We've had a strong growth year this year. Currently, we have around 90 employees. So, you know, the numbers here are still a bit skewed, but hopefully next year we'll have some more, some information that makes more sense. We are ISO 13485 certified and also ISO 9001 certified because, you know, in the medical field, you know, quality is one of the main drivers really for companies. And it's usually one of the reasons why our customers choose us over others. We also have a lot of like public partners that we work with, a lot of research institutes, not least with VTT. I just noticed that I forgot to update the logo, which seems to happen every 6 months with VTT, but who knows, maybe next year. I'll have a new logo again, so we can change it. And also PrinterSend, of course, the cluster headed by VTT, which specializes in print electronics and everything that has to do with that. So, what do we do? We have like 4 main service areas these days. One of them is medical electrodes, which we have done for the last 10 years. All kinds of on-the-skin sensors for things like ECG, biobeams, also some other measurements. Our background is in switch memory keyboards and touch sensors, also for medical devices. We've been doing that for over 30 years. And now with the Corona crisis, we've also started producing personal protection equipment. So, you know, FFP, like masks and stuff like that. But that's not the topic of today's presentation, as it's not really printed electronics as such. And we've also been going into, well, several years already, into like printed diagnostics, things like electrochemical sensors, lateral flow tests and stuff like that. So, medical devices and sensors. So some of the stuff we have here, as I already mentioned, like ECG and EEG, but also like hybrid sensors, which use both printed electronics and bespoke traditional electronics components to sort of make the best of 2 worlds. Electrochemical sensors, some lab-on-a-chip stuff as well. Pretty much like it's pretty broad range of products that we can actually make with our technology, and it's all custom made for our customers. They usually come to us with an idea for a prototype. We produce the prototype, and then support our customers all the way through mass manufacturing, which is usually the end goal. So what do we actually do for you? So in these steps, so we try to ensure that the design of the product is coherent and everything sort of fits together. Try to get rid of any unnecessary and complicated features which may drive up the cost but not really add anything to the functionality of the product. And with a long experience, we usually have a pretty good idea of what kind of features you should and should not include in your product. And reducing the risks, of course, like ISO 13485 comes into play here. With our quality management system, we try to reduce the risks in the product production and the product itself as well, because like you want medical products to be as safe as possible, even though you cannot technically say that a medical product is safe because of regulations. You know, you want it as safe as possible and with its least adverse effects as possible. And of course, optimizing components, getting rid of unnecessary components, and maybe like, you know, finding ways to optimize existing components, making them smaller and more efficient, like cheaper. And ultimately saving time and money, because, you know, that's usually the main reason why one would go for contract manufacturing is that it, you know, if somebody has more expertise about this field than your own company, and you can actually use that to save a lot of time and money, both through material choices, as we have quite an extensive material library, but also the process optimization and integration, because we have experience, like a lot of experience over 30 years of manufacturing, and combine different components, different processes with one another. So we can, save a lot of time and money in both like production process and design and all steps along the way. Some of the materials that we use for sensors, traditionally, like PET has been one of the main go-to materials, as it's like a quite rigid polymer. It's easy to print on. It's easy to make sensors out of. But more recently, the sensors have moved on to TPU, thermoformable polyurethanes, as it's stretchable, more flexible, and usually if you're going for on-the-skin devices, the skin stretches as well, so the TPU is an excellent choice, as it tends to stretch with the user's skin and needs you can optimize the adhesives a bit more. You don't need as aggressive adhesives, so you have less skin irritation, things like that. We're also moving to fabrics as sports monitoring and monitoring of patients, with smart clothing has also been a huge growth market in the last couple of years. Still a lot of development going on there, but we have been able to print fully functional electrodes on fabrics as well. And of course, printed circuit boards as well, that are more traditional components that are combined with these newer sensors. So in our in-house processes, so we do flatbed screen printing. So that's our original process. We do it in both sheet and roll to roll. Heat and curing, of course, for the inks and thermoforming materials. Lamination of materials either through heat or through force or other methods. Mechanical cutting, laser cutting, dispensation of both adhesives and hydrogels as well. We do some small 3D printing, usually more for prototyping and other things to try it out. Usually the mass production processes for 3D parts are done by our partners. And of course we do assembly as well. So traditional electronic components, mechanical parts, if a customer wants, we can provide them with a completely finished product that is ready to sell to their customers. So. And also recently a clean room, which is class 7, ISO class 7 certified. So, for medical production, you usually don't want any pollutants in your products, and we can provide that for you. So, on to the meat of the presentation, some customer cases that I'm quite happy with. First up is a customer case, is the My Angel patch by Innomedis, which is a French-Canadian company founded in 2014. By Dr. Fabrice Vassanon, pictured there. And he wanted to make a product that can deliver quality cardiological care anywhere in the world. It was actually inspired by his brother who went hiking in the forests of Canada and got a heart attack. But by the time the emergency medical technicians were able to get to him, he already got so much damage to his central nervous system that he ended up being paraplegic. And this inspired Fabrice to find a way to sort of give people an early warning system for this and to sort of prevent this from happening to other people. As usually prevention is better than curing. And they're hoping to move to French and Canadian markets this year. So what does the patch do? It's actually a combination. This is actually one of those hybrid sensors where we combine a sensor dot with a printed electronics patch. So the patch has sensor leads for ECG and heart rate variance, which is then registered by the sensor dot, which has Bluetooth low energy transmission that transmits to a mobile phone, where then an algorithm is used to either predict and prevent heart attacks or even track other pathogens, like in this case also COVID or other flu symptoms could also be tracked, and give people sort of an idea of what their health is trending like. It also has a lot of other components like temperature sensors, which are also very important in patient monitoring, fall position detection, of course, through gyroscopes and even step counter for those who like to check their activity as well. So what did we actually do for this? Is the sensor dot itself was not of our design, but there was a lot of engineering with the patch itself and an optimization of processes and also the selection of materials. The patch is worn in the center of the chest, which is an area where it has a lot of movement. So finding the right adhesives was one of the challenges that we had with this. Also, the patch should ideally be used inside water conditions, so like you're going swimming or at least taking a shower, and that of course always has the other challenge with the power supply, as Dr. Vassano is an avid lover of the environment, and eco-friendliness was a huge issue for him. So first we tried zinc batteries, but zinc batteries, they would need air to operate, and if you actually go and make the patch waterproof, the zinc batteries won't get enough power or enough air to generate enough power to actually power the patch. So in the end, we ended up removing any of the power supplies from the patch itself and moving them to the sensor dock to make it rechargeable with like a traditional lithium-ion battery, which is not, of course, lithium-ion is not the most environmentally friendly, but making it rechargeable is better than having a disposable system which does not work. So we also do some microfluidics and other sensors. Please excuse the somewhat crude drawing there. We did not get permission to get a picture of the actual product from our customer, but they did graciously allow us to tell you about their case, which is actually a tape-based microfluidic system that is meant to sample blood in reliable quantities. So when you take blood samples, sometimes the amount of blood that's actually collected is quite random. But Capitaine has come up with a system to, through microfluidics, always get the exact same volume of blood that is sampled. And we help them realize this through quick prototype testing and setting up within a couple of months a production system to their satisfaction. And this is mostly meant for point of care applications and home testing, where people are not really experts in taking these samples and just ensuring reliability regardless of the skill of the user or how much the user has been instructed. And there was a lot of reasons why they chose us as a partner. Of course, our manufacturing capabilities, so our material selections. We recently acquired new personnel with expertise in this field. Dr. Christina Liedert is our lead engineer and business developer on this sort of field, and optimizing design of the microfluidics so that it will be cheap to use and also reliably would work in large quantities. And of course, with these things, everybody can make microfluidics on a small scale, a couple of devices. But the key reason for this is that we mass produced and suitable to roll production, and quickly get from a basic concept to the full product, which we were all able to deliver. And of course, quality was one of the main issues here, as ISO 13485 allows us to actually support our customers with the necessary documentation so that their product can get CE marked and approved as fast as possible. And of course, it has a modicum of reliability as well. Then even more cases. This one has actually been with us quite a long time, and some people have seen our stand. They have seen this electrode already, the KutoSense Wound Watch electrode, which is an electrode based on TPU, so stretchable, which is actually meant for wound healing. It stimulates through mild electrical stimulation, which is actually shown in research to increase the rate that wounds heal. And it also registers how much the wound has healed, so there's no need to constantly remove the bandages and constantly expose the wound to pollutants and outside factors. So it's quite a useful product, but of course very research and development heavy. And yeah, it's meant for hospital applications and use in chronic wound healing. So what were the challenges here? Of course, in manufacturing, the material selection, of course, is TPU here, and there's quite a lot of detail, quite a small tolerances in this product. And with TPU, the smaller you get, the more unstable it gets. So we've had a lot of back and forth through this process to make sure that all the electrodes stay in the place that they're supposed to stay in, and that the patch is easy to use as well as functional. And of course, making sure that in the technology department that is again roll-to-roll compatible, and making sure that it's always reliable by keeping it stable. And of course, again, ISO 13485 compliant manufacturing is a must for these devices, especially because if you're working with open wounds, there's quite a lot of risks involved. And through the process and the design and documentation, you want to mitigate these risks as much as possible. And also like flexible cooperation with us, like was one of the main reasons why they chose us, as we're both able to do the multiple rounds of prototypes, which is product required, as well as the mass production then along the way. Then one last case was actually done with VTT, this time with the new updated logo, as you can see there. This was presented at the start of the year during the Prince conference, and it's actually to show us like what you can do with an IoT platform. So a really compact sensor dot, which was used to measure applause, but it's actually a very versatile platform which can be used for any kind of sensing. With this, there was a lot of traditional electronics parts, and our own input was somewhat limited, mostly by thermoforming and printing the cover, so like the outside of the thing, and making sure that it's properly assembled, and the final assembly was done by us, and also like getting the right adhesives.
Roelof, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. Don't worry. it's getting to an end as well. But thank you. Yes, and again, making sure that like these processes would eventually also be roll-to-roll compatible, because with these sensor dot platforms, it's usually you want to keep them as cheap as possible. So mass manufacturing is an absolute must. And the skin adhesive, of course, has to be compatible as well, as you don't want people to get allergic reactions and skin irritation. You want to keep that to a minimum. So like adjusting those for the wear time of the device is a key factor. So after those cases, so that's like a lot of different cases, and any questions are welcome after the presentation. Short, what we can offer, so quality management, as the customer cases sort of showed, that a lot of customers choose us because we do have the ISO 13485 certification. So what does it really mean in practice? That we can actually constantly improve our processes. We constantly take in feedback, we see what's happening, what could go wrong, what might have gone wrong, how can we prevent that from going wrong in the future, and just produce a constant and reliable result for our customers, so that they always know that once they get their product, it works, it just works, and then there's no more need for testing from their side at all. And of course, supporting our clients with documentation, because a lot of things in the medical world is about documentation, especially when you're trying to get your product certified either by the FDA or a CE mark for Europe. And having proper documentation about the steps and all the risk management is just a must, and we're able to provide our customers with that. And we already have a lot of products on the market in Finland, and Israel, and the US, France, and Denmark as well, and counting. We have a proven track record on where this is concerned as well. So we try to offer our customers fast prototyping with reasonable overall costs, trying to not use excessive amounts of resources, just trying to get the basic of the product right, or even trying to find out is the concept of the product viable or not. So, but regardless, usually the cost per unit is always high for the prototyping phase, so we try to cut that as much as we can. And because our processes our small volume processes are compatible with our high volume processes, it's usually, there's no real expensive inline investments for getting to zero series prototyping into mass manufacturing, and it allows us to scale really rapidly. Once the design is sort of locked in, we can, like within a few months' time, set up mass manufacturing processes. So
okay, 1 minute.
Okay, yeah. So we're trying to grow with our customers, and we have some financing options also with Nordic Option, like other VCs that can allow us to invest in products which need line investments. Our longest business relationships have been over 30 years, as long as the company has been they've been active. And yeah, once you succeed and grow together, we're not afraid of taking high-risk projects. As you can see, we have very large variety of products. We try to keep as much in-house as possible to have as much control as possible. We try to be reactive and flexible, and both hybrid and printed sensors can be done. And of course, the ISO thing. And here we have our key personnel that you can also contact after this presentation if you want. And I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Roelof. I think you had so exhausting presentation that we don't sorry to have your questions at the moment.
I'll be on, so like if people have questions and they come up with them later.
So please send your questions, dear audience, from the QA questions and answers directly, so we can then put them to Roelof and get your answers. Okay, please stop sharing, and then we go to the next presentation, which will be from hybrid manufacturing technologies to accelerate drug discovery. And Mr. Prateek Singh from FinnAdvance will tell us the story. Okay, let's go, Prateek.
Thank you, Ilkka, and thank you, IVAM, for hosting me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Prateek, founder and CEO of FinnAdvance. And today I will talk about the various manufacturing technologies which we are using to develop solutions for drug discovery. A brief background about ourselves. The company was formed from a requirement for an EU project in December 2018 as a one-person company, and today we are around 10 people based in Finland. Our main purpose, or the main vision, is to accelerate drug research and development and try to be as animal-free as possible. And the technology what we are using for that is organ-on-chips. And the manufacturing technologies vary a lot from bioprinting to additive manufacturing to surface functionalization. But why do we have to care about drug development at all? Because as of today, it takes more than $2 billion and more than 10 years to do any drug development. You start from a few thousand compounds in a lab and then do preclinical or pre-human research to find targets of molecules which are then tested on animals. And finally, we have a handful of compounds which end in human trials. And hopefully we get one drug which is actually on the path for commercialization. Now, it has been known for a really long time that all the preclinical trials, they yield drugs which are excellent for animals, but then the translation to human trials fails by more than 90%. So that's where we are stepping in and developing solutions for advancing biotechnology 2.0. We use a host of technologies, but today specifically I will talk about additive manufacturing. And we are a very research-based company. We are a startup, and I will go from how we go from a research project to an end application. Vascular tissue engineering or blood vessel engineering is very important if you want to keep any organ alive or to distribute drugs throughout the human body or any organism. So that's why we are focusing on finding solutions to do this animal-free. And 3D printing or additive manufacturing allows us to have an extensive material library and range of resolutions and timescales with the commercially available materials. And this has been known for the time since additive manufacturing or 3D printing has been in existence. We start our academic or our basic research by developing these scaffolds which fit conventional industrial drug R&D platforms. And one of the first problems what we face when we are using commercial materials or any of the materials for this hybrid manufacturing is that the design versus the fabricated, there is a huge variation. So you have to be very careful on the platform and the material to make sure that the part which you have designed actually meets the specifications after fabrication. That is only one small part of the story. The material which has been fabricated has to undergo extensive biocompatibility studies. In-house, we do cytocompatibility. We look at the metabolic profiles of the cells which are growing on the printed material, and we then look at our material library, which are the ones which are actually supporting cell growth. And this has to be verified over, in this case, 7 days. And there we can see also the effect of surface functionalization. Here we are testing 2 different protein coatings on the scaffold. And this has to be verified with 2 different, or at least a multitude of assays. So here we do a live dead imaging analysis as well as a metabolic assay to show that the results are compatible with each other. But you can do all sorts of assays, but you have to see also at the microscopic scale how these materials which you have fabricated or printed are affecting the biological material. So here, this resin, which has been biocompatible, you can see the cells actually do not adhere or they do not stick to the material. They are floating in the surrounding media or the blood-like media, and they survive quite happily. But upon doing a proper surface functionalization, we can see in 3D, this is a Z stack. You're going in the Z direction through the material. You can see the cells are actually forming these tubular structures and adhering to the material over the course of 7 days. And once we finish the biocompatibility studies, we look at the solvent or the chemical compatibility over all the used chemicals in a typical lab environment. And then we end up with the conclusion of the right material choice and the right fabrication technology to form this biomaterial. Now that was a very general part, how we go from an idea to characterization of the material. How do we actually use it for drug discovery? In our EU-funded project VACure, where we are looking at vascular anomalies, it's a rare disorder which is affecting 3 to 5 million people around the world. And Tuan, our CTO, is heading this project inside our company. On top, you can see how a healthy blood vessel from a human looks like. And in the bottom is the blood vessel which has been from the patient who is affected by this vascular anomaly. Now we have to make an in vitro model for this disease. And the typical way is that we start with the computational model of the disease. Then we fabricate prototypes and we get a biological model, which can then be used by clinicians for assessing how the cells behave under different drug applications, for example. And then it comes the role of hybrid or this additive manufacturing technologies, where we use a host of platforms. Here is a very simple FDM printing setup, which allows us to go from a small set of experiments to more than 120 experiments in a single day. What it means for the industry or for the patients is that we can then analyze individual mutations or samples coming from individual patients and see their drug response on these blood vessels which are growing outside the body. We have also used this technology for growing, for providing environment for growing different organs. Here you are seeing kidney organoids, which are undergoing drug tests. And thanks to these hybrid technologies, it has been known that if we use our platform and reduce the amount of animals used in drug R&D or even the clinical trials, the cost to the pharma industry could be decreased by as much as 25% over the course of 10 years. And what these technologies have been helping us to do intensive data mining from the disease models which we are generating. And they allow us to study in depth how the different therapeutics are targeting the diseases. And we hope to use this platform to develop personalized medicines in the future. This work wouldn't have been possible without my really diverse and skilled team. And we are, through this platform, we are looking forward to expand our team from current 10 to 15. And if this is something which is interesting to you, please reach out to me after this talk. And thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Prateek, for a very interesting story.
Thanks, Ilkka.
And it's not a story anymore because you have created a company around this this idea, which I see that it's still a bit between the research and business, but hope to have you so that you have a business flying on this topic. And are there any questions now? Sorry, I don't see the QA coming to you at the moment. But one question I would like to ask you is that how did you get this kind of idea to start this whole line from your? I know that you were on the research, but you haven't had time to finalize your doctoral thesis now when you jumped this idea. Just to get some kind of background, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so this has been, I've been exposed to these organ-on-chip technologies, or these biotechnology 2.0 during my time in Germany and Switzerland during my exchange studies. And that's when I realized that, okay, I do have the microtechnology background, so I should use it for something more applied than the conventional research. And then when the EU project asked for such a startup, then I thought I would step in, and it has been a roller coaster ride from that time onwards. Yeah.
And your plans related to the company, they are so that you have the funding already for this phase, but you are going to have more personnel.
Yes, now we have a lot of pharma customers who are approaching us. So now we are at the stage where we are trying to rapidly grow our team to deliver these industry projects. So people who are interested in biotechnology and with microtechnology background, please, you can reach out to me.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see any questions here in the QA, so thank you, Prateek, and
Thanks,
hope all the best for the activities which you are doing.
Yep.
So it's challenging to start something new and break the old walls.
Yes. Thank you.
So we will continue according to the schedule sharply at 10 to 1 o'clock CET with implementation of lateral flow test manufacturing by Matti, Mettovaara. So we will have here now a 5-minute break, and Matti can prepare his presentation on the table. Thanks. 5-minute break. Thanks. our printed diagnostics and 3D printing session, and the next speech implementation on lateral flow test manufacturing comes from Ginolis OY and Matti Mettovaara. Please go.
Hello, everybody. I hope my audio and video quality is on decent level. So actually, this slot for the presentation became by surprise, as our CTO Markku Kensäkoski had to go for a business trip. So this is quite a fast-made presentation about the lateral flow device manufacturing process. I don't know how much everybody knows about these things, but I will try to go through the process on the main level. So in every case when a company wants to do lateral flow test manufacturing, the process basically goes this way. There is two main parts. The first part of the process is presented in the three boxes above. So basically it means dispensing the desired reagents in the fabrics, and then there's a drying process, and then there's a lamination process. And in that part of the process, we are creating a mass. So basically it doesn't mean, it means that we are creating hundreds of individual tests in one production. And then when you move towards the individual production, when you go cutting, assembly, and packaging, then you are making one singular product out of the big mass. And this is the basic process that applies to any test you are manufacturing. In the process, in the first phase, as said, it means dispensing, drying, and laminating the base materials to create the base for the test, which means that you have a fabric which includes the right chemistry to create a test. And when you are doing a mass production, it means that if you are producing, for example, test cards, which is a length of 300 millimeters, that gives you 60 strips if you are using 5 millimeter strips, and then of course the same with the bigger strips, it gives a bigger amount of test materials. Okay, and then when you go towards the singular products, then it's about automated assembly or manual assembly. And of course, it basically means sealing the test material inside the cassette and then packaging into aluminum pouches, which are most commonly used. And then, of course, it might need to have a lancet pipette or some other materials inside the bag to be able to use the test. And this depends of the test type. And then is the test used home, or is it used in a clinics? The most important and the critical step when you are doing a production for any test is the R&D phase. In the COVID case, there was a good example, for example, in France, where companies were really eager to hit the market, and they bought test materials mainly from China, and they were launching tests in France that didn't work. So this is always the most important part when you are creating a test. In reagent application, you are dispensing test and control and conjugate materials to cards. And of course, then you need to check all the dispensing defects when you are doing the dispensing, and these are usually marked after the dispensing to the materials. In drying process, the main objective is always to reduce the amount of water, and the desired level is to have less than 4% of water in the materials. The lamination process can also be done by using machines or doing by hand, and it is a very simple process creating the the card itself that then can be used for the tests. And again, the same R&D phase, the quality inspection phase is on inspection and marking the laminations, and you also mark the defected materials in those to avoid any tests that cannot work. Then in the process of creating the test itself, you are cutting materials from the test cards to strips. Most typical strip sizes are 4 to 5 millimeter wide. And in quality control processes, you always need to be sure that if you are manufacturing by hand, you can collect the marked products away from the mass, or when you are doing automation, you can use vision control to do this work for you. And then, of course, assembling and packaging the test is the same as mentioned above. Important steps in the manufacturing, of course, the quality control throughout the whole process. As mentioned in R&D, if you are bringing different products together and you buy, for example, the chemistry from China, you need to make sure that the chemistry is working. And of course, in assembly process, you also need to check the assembly process itself, that you are using right materials, you are closing the cassettes and the test strips in the right orientation, in the right manner to have them working. So this is the most important thing, that you never let products to hit the market which are not working. Track and trace becomes more and more important, and many companies are nowadays marking each individual products by laser marking devices, for example, or inkjet devices. And of course, speed, repeatability, calibration, and automation becomes important parts of any process when you are scaling up. COVID-19 was a good example of the things I mentioned in the previous slide, because many companies who already were in the business, they were facing a huge task to scale up the business and start producing millions of tests per week, or even millions of tests per day. And of course, this track and trace becomes important, and especially in the COVID case, it was extremely important to be able to trace each test made anywhere in the world. Immediate needs to mass production was leading many companies to start using automation services. And of course, many companies already had automation, and then it became a question how they could use these automation devices to do new tests that they were doing for the COVID cases. And in this case, Ginolis became a pretty good partner for many companies, especially for the companies who already were using Ginolis products. Why this is so? Well, because Ginolis is using a platform which is made of modules. So any company who was using already Ginolis tools, they could quite easily modify their lines to be able to manufacture new test types, for example, for the COVID case. And Ginolis itself is a company which is established 2010. It's privately owned company, and we're having a headquarters in Oulu, Finland, and also having offices in China, and then in the USA, East Coast and West Coast. I show a small video. It should only last for about a minute, so it doesn't take too much time from this. Why? Oh no, it's not showing the video. Okay, here we go. This is showing the basic process of the assembly, and there's also some dispensing solutions shown in the video. Most of these cases are custom made for our customers, but also include some standard ways how we always do the process for any customer. Okay, that was a short video showing some things we have done. And about the quality inspection points that I mentioned, in our machine vision, we always use vision-based components to check each part of the process in our assembly machines. So we are not only checking the quality of the material itself, we are also guiding the machines using vision control. So it's very precise and way more precise than a human eye for the quality control of the products. Our LFDA system is one of the basic products that we have for the lateral flow device assembly. And this line is doing not the dispensing part of the process, but only the assembly part of the process. And the flexible here means that the customer doesn't need to know what is the need maybe 2 years after they purchased the automation from our company, because like mentioned before, if you have some changes in the products, we can always adapt the new products into our current existing systems by adding modules or taking modules away, or even changing some parts for the modules, which you can see on the next slide. So our robotic modules can have, for example, a card magazine, which is most commonly used on rapid test manufacturing. Real in feed is becoming more and more important for the big mass production, and we can also adapt this quite easily to our machines without changing the whole system. And then you can always have these other things like RFID tags or printing or labeling or laser marking devices included into our machines, even after using the line for many years. Some new products that we are bringing to the market is our semi-automated LFDA system. This product was generated because of the high demand when the COVID hit the whole world. So this is a semi-automatic system which we can deliver to our customers with a really fast schedule. And then we are bringing also a reel-to-reel dispenser to the market. This is a new product, and we hope to launch this during the Q1 or Q2 next year. That was all slides I have from our side. Any questions?
So I see here that we don't have any special questions or answers coming from the audience. I have one question related to the business because I think that this COVID has somehow influenced in a different way to different companies. And what would be your comment, Matti, how COVID influenced your company? Can you tell something about the financial side also?
Yes, well, of course, it hit our company in a good way. In springtime, we didn't know what is going to happen. Of course, no company could be forecasting the future the next months because everything was so unsure. But for us, it turned out to be the biggest growth in our history. So we were facing, I would say, really big amount of inquiries from early March all the way up to these days. And I would say business-wise, I don't know the exact figures by the end of today, but I would say this year we will most likely double our business compared to last year. And of course, part of this is coming from the COVID, and part of it is the normal growth that we have been working for many years. But of course, this COVID has also placed us in a new situation because we need to somehow to be able to handle everything. Our old existing customers who were already working with us before the COVID came, and now we need to serve all the COVID customers. And of course, then some companies already who been working with us are mixing now COVID for the existing projects they already have ongoing. But in this, the modularity is really bringing us some relief because we can work with the existing lines by adding some modules there, and then we can help the customers to also use those lines to make COVID tests. And this applies to Finnish companies. We have been one big client here in Finland who just bought a big line from us for a different test before the COVID came, and now they have been producing tests for Finnish government by using our line and just modifying the line a little bit to be able to manufacture that test type. So it's been very interesting 6 months, but I hope things will get easier next year because this is maybe too interesting at the moment.
Okay, so it's one I was just recognizing also from your presentation that based on the needs from the COVID, you have also developed or adapted your technology maybe to a new type semi-automated product.
Yes.
And so it has been quite a fast way to maybe to develop this kind of, to identify first the customer need and so on.
Yes, we created that product within a month mainly. And the biggest reason to do that is that many companies were asking a really, really high amount of production capacity. And our automated systems, I would say they can also handle big mass production, but it's not maybe the most common feature in our machines that they are doing really high capacity. They are rather doing really high quality and maybe low to medium quantity and then really high quality. And then there was a big need for fast production scaling ups, and this LFDA1 semi-automatic system is basically run by one operator, and with those we could really offer companies a lot of production capacity with the really short lead times from our side. So it is I don't know if this product will be a big seller or a big hit after the COVID is done, but at least at the moment there's a big demand for those machines.
Okay, I think that we just thank you, Matti, to come here and release you back to the business because you seem to have now enough. So
there is quite plenty, yes.
Yeah, thank you. And we will have next speaker will be Eero Kaikkonen from Movesole, presenting the wearable devices in preventive healthcare, case smart insole, and so maybe you can prepare and we start sharply at 1:10 p.m. So maybe you, Eero, prepare.
Yep, I'll do that.
think so that we will now go to the next presentation in the printed diagnostics and 3D printing session related to the smart insoles. So Eero, let's go.
All right, thank you, Ilkka. And good afternoon from my behalf. So my name is Eero Kaikkonen. I'm a CEO of Movesole, and I'm going to share with you some thoughts about the wearable devices in preventive healthcare and also in welfare, and using our smart insoles as a case example for that. But before going there, it's why we speak about the wearables in healthcare and welfare. I think it's good to remember where we are coming from. So if you think the healthcare in 50 years ago, so if there was a test needed from a patient, what happened was that you as a patient went to a hospital, whether it was far away, whether it was close by. There was some tests taken, and then there was a wait for days or weeks, and then you went back to the hospital and listened to your verdict, whether you will be surviving or not. So it was quite a complex, and it was also time-taking and expensive process. And now, I think the first thing which started to happen in maybe 40 years ago already was that the people with the diabetes, they started to take their own blood tests in order to find out what was the level of the glucose in their blood, so that they didn't need to go every time to hospital. And on the welfare side, the one of the first pioneers were, of course, the Finnish Polar with the heart rate monitoring, where the people in sports, in the beginning, it was like a top sports, you know, they were almost the professional sport people who used, but it started to go for normal people who were interested about how the exercise was going. And in the last 10, 15 years, that trend has been growing faster. There has been activity measurement, there has been sleep detectors, how well we are sleeping. And there's more and more need for objective data in both in our welfare, but also in our healthcare. And here I'm using it's a case of the Movesole. We're developing smart insoles for gait analysis. So gait analysis is the way how we walk. And it's a good example of where the healthcare is going. So 50 years ago, they was thinking that there's one good way to walk, and basically it was thought that every human being should be walking in the same way. But now it's more and more started to understand that there's not one right way to walk, but there is a natural way for each individual to walk. And also the relation between how we walk or what kind of our gait is to various problems, not only in the feet or knees or hips, it's even in the back. So there's a lot. The relation between our walking and our welfare is very strong. And even more so that there was also thinking that the way you walk is the way you walk, and you can't learn anything new. But nowadays it's learned that you can be even teach to walk in the different ways. So there is need for a objective data for the walking. It can be measured, and the results can be used in analyzing and helping people to feel better. And one of the key elements is that it can be used in rehabilitation, but it can be also used preventing something to happen. So that is one of the key findings in gait analysis in the last 20 years. And just giving some ideas how different cases there are. So where we started from was we originally built these insoles for physiotherapists helping people recovering or rehabilitation process of lower limb injuries. But we have been soon learning that there's so many other places like the lower limb malfunction and the other things, which are not like a trauma type of incidents, but rather that there is a long-term back pain problem and maybe the physiotherapist can help, where the data of how you walk and how you are training is helping you. But then there's other things like diabetes, then there's a sports, exercising, and especially with the older people, the prevention is very important. So the walking is a very good way of analyzing how well is your condition, and if certain intervention is affecting on that condition. And the latest findings, which is still a little bit like a science fiction, but it's getting there, that how we walk in the elderly age is also marking. So let me put it the other way around. The starting of the Parkinson's disease can be seen in the first phase. You can see it is in your walking before any memory type of problems exist. So that is the key. So and so far, the physiotherapists and orthopedists, the only tool they have had in analyzing with the gait has been their own eye. And they can see quite a lot with it, but not all of it. So when speaking with the physiotherapists and orthopedists, they say that they need more accurate data of the walking and the way it is to measure what happens under your feet. And that's where our insoles have been used. And even going further, it's really a huge research going on a gait analysis, and in the originally it was needed for a clinical examination and then helping tour, and that's where we started, and that's what we're selling it for. And there also the other finding is that you should be analyzed while you're walking, not while you're standing it. So if you tend to, and still if you go some of the physiotherapists, they put you standing and they check your feet, but in the real life, the more and more research saying that you shouldn't be analyzed when you're standing, but rather when you're walking, in order to understand what's wrong when you're walking. And more and more there's a finding that the shoes, what kind of shoes you have in your feet when you are in a working place or when you are jogging or running or walking, it has a huge effect how you're doing, and to measure what is the right foot where you need the data under your feet. So if you think it today, so still it's mainly the measurement of the gait analysis done in the labs, and that means they're in the hospitals or clinics, and there are not too many of them in the different places. Like in Finland, there's like 5 or 6 good laboratories for a gait analysis. So it means not everybody can go there, or if you go there, you have a problem you are solving there. So, and our mission is to take this kind of measurements to where you live. So basically, in your everyday situation where the problems happen, whether it's your work, whether it's your running, whether it's how you behave at home, whatever you do, we want to take the measurements there. And again, like I said, there's so many places where you can use this kind of measurement. So it's not only like a rehabilitation of lower limb injuries, but it's sports, it's diabetes people, measuring people with older age, and it's also occupational health. So basically, a lot of the pain problems or back problems and pain in the back are coming from what happens at the work. And in order to understand what happens and how to improve the situation, you need the data, how to measure it. So going to products that we have. So what we did was that we wanted to build a easy to use insole that you can take to wherever you want to measurement taken. So we are measuring forces under the feet with the 7 different force sensors. And so basically to take it wherever you want it to. So what we did, we integrated 2 hospital level or laboratory level tools. So the one is the pressure mat and the other one is the force plate, and integrated to them into one insole so that it can given to the patient, and then let them go wherever you want them to be measured. And then the only thing they needed with them is the smartphone with the application which collects the data from the insole. And so basically, I jump to the next one. When we started this process, the original target were the physiotherapists and orthopedists and podiatrists. So we wanted to build a application which is as easy to use as possible. So whatever is the result, whether you want to see how the weight is split between right and left foot, or whether there's what kind of your step is, how strong is your heel strike, or whatever you are looking for, the results can be immediately seen. So we don't steal the time from the patient and the physiotherapist said, so they can talk and our measurement comes as fast as possible. And the other finding, there's a lot of asked question from us, is that could you make that list like an artificial intelligence so that it tells directly to patient or the people using them that whether they are walking right or wrong. And one of the things we have been learning to, because every people are walking, there's not one right way of walking, but there's a natural way for each individual walking. So this is a professional tool where the professional can help. It helps the professional, and then the professional can help the patient change something or improve something, and rather than the tool itself or the insoles themselves could tell it. But while doing that, what we have been learning also, like I said in the beginning, that it's not that there's a one way of the walking, but there's a natural way of walking, and that can be changed. And that's one of the things what we have been learning or doing now with our insoles. So using these insoles also to learning something new. So basically we can put alarms in under your feet in the different sensors. and let's say that you have a little bit too little pressure on your biggest toe, we put your alarm saying that every time you put too little pressure there, it reminds you that you should change how you walk. So basically, we use biofeedback for teaching people the new habit of the walking, and very small changes can affect a huge amount for the patient's everyday living. So basically, this is where our tools are used a lot. So we use it not only measuring and collecting the data from the patients, but also teaching the patient something new, the new way of the walking on the way the physiotherapist or orthopedist thinks they should do. So what basically the key element for us, there was like a 3 or 4 important things for us when we were building the product. The first was because the forces under the feet, it's got a violent environment. So we need to build a product that lasts so that we can sell it to that they can use it from one patient to another one. The other one was the usability of the product. So usability in many senses. So it's easy to put on the patient's feet. It's easy to measure the result. The results come fast. So it doesn't steal the time of the patient physiotherapist or patient doctor relation, but it just gives the result as when they are needed. And then precise measurement results. So we wanted to build a product that gives the results you can rely on your healthcare on. So basically, we wanted to give what we call like a laboratory level results, and that's we have been working a lot, and it has been validated by external resources, so that we know. And you see there, so we give this insole like a 12 months guarantee or 500,000 step guarantee for one pair. And that's something that's not seen in this business. There has been some other insoles earlier, but they typically have had like a 5,000 step or whatever guarantee, but we give a warranty for 500,000 steps. So we give a tool that can be really used for measurement. And finally, here can you see our product. So we're selling this to professionals. So it's a package including 6 different sizes of the insoles, 1 smartphone including our application. You can download it elsewhere, but we guarantee that this one is working, and then all the other needed stuff. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing. So we have really built a product for wearable product that you can be used for measuring the patient and the patient's walking on wherever they are living in their everyday life, and collect the data, not only for the healthcare, but also for the welfare purposes. So if there's any question, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you, Eero. I can see that there are no questions at the moment, but based on your presentation, the world is going to that direction that instead of asking that, how are you, we should ask, how are you walking?
Pretty much. There was one very experienced physiotherapist who said to us, when by the way, he's our customers nowadays. So he was saying that if you have a pain below your neck, it has probably something to do with the way how you walk. So walking is affecting very much to our everyday life.
Yeah, I think so that there has been quite many of this kind of let's say startups and research products and that kind of topics, which have this kind of outcome of an insole. And but there are, like you mentioned, that there are not too many competitors at the moment who are giving this kind of figures, what you guarantee, this 12 months or 500,000 steps at the moment. So can you comment a bit the journey?
Yeah, yeah, that will be take another 20 minutes. No, seriously, it was so giving this way that it took us only like 3 months to build a first prototype that measured something, but it took us like 3 years to build a product that first of all is precise enough so it's measuring right, and the other thing was that it's usable and it lasts for long enough. So it was really a long journey. Ilkka knows pretty much how we fought to make it working. And therefore, we like I've seen like a tens and tens of different kind of research programs where there has been planned to build an insole, but there are in real life we have maybe 2 or 3 competitors in Europe or even in a global level who are really delivering the product. So it's surprisingly difficult task. Let's put it this way.
So what about at the moment this kind of different lines for the research? As you mentioned that there are a lot of different kind of, let's say, topics which you can measure and different age of people and so on, which you can detect different kind of topics. So you are involved in different research topics at the moment.
Yeah, pretty many. It's well, starting from the kind of the current situation, so the COVID situation, which has been hurting our business quite a lot, but there has been one development, which is that these kind of tools also allow distant treatment in a way that the insoles are sent to the patient. Patient is walking there and seen through the video, and the measurement to results go back to the physiotherapist, so they don't even need to meet. That has been one of the events. There has been a EU program where they have been already testing this kind of using our insoles on that, and it has been quite successful. But then on research side, on larger, I think the finding, it was a very big German research where they really were measuring how people walk, the elderly people were walking, and when they started to see the changes in the walking style, and then they analyzed it was like the first sign that there might be Parkinson disease or Alzheimer's disease coming. So that is very interesting going forward. So if we could be helping people doing this kind of testing of the 70, like in Sweden, they plan to test 75-year-old people, and then every couple of years to test, and if they start seeing changes in the walking, maybe take the further testing whether there is a Parkinson or Alzheimer coming, and that is very interesting part of our future, hopefully.
Okay, thank you, and all the best for the next steps with your insoles. So
thank you, Ilkka.
Okay, so then we will go in a couple of minutes to next topic, which will be the new display form factors in high volume production for medtech applications by Tommy Höglund from Ynvisible. So Tommy, please prepare to get your slides ready, and then we will start sharply at 1:30. I think that now we have the time to go on with your presentation, Tommy. So please.
So thank you. Yes, my name is Tommy Höglund, and I work as the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the company Ynvisible Interactive. And I will talk today about our electrochromic displays and give some examples in medtech applications, but hopefully also inspire some of you to see our display for your products perhaps, or your production. So let me see if I can switch the slide. Now it has locked somehow. Maybe there. So Ynvisible is a company today with its headquarters in Vancouver, Canada. And this is related to that Ynvisible is a listed company on the Toronto Stock Exchange venture list. So we are a startup company, but a listed startup company. But the operations in Ynvisible is based in Europe due to history and how the company have evolved throughout the times. So in Portugal, in Lisbon, we have our customer solutions office where we do a lot of prototyping, consultancy services, training, and product development. And in Sweden, Linköping, where I'm also located, we have our scale up and production where we can take our display technology into high volume production, as you will soon see in my presentation. And also from here, we can do technology transfer services. And very importantly, as we have heard from the previous presenter, working with applications in the health sector is quality control systems. And then we also have in Freiburg in Germany, our R&D site where we work a lot with our materials that we use to create this new display technology and to scale that up into mass production and create new functionalities in our inks, so to say. So this is short about Ynvisible and our locations here in the world. And what am I talking about when I'm talking about electrochromic displays? In this video here, you can see an example of a printed display that is here used to give a bit of an amusement, but also actually to function together with a humidity sensor that detects and feels that the earth here is humid and have moisture, and then it smiles and it's happy because it's very good for putting in a seed and letting it grow. So this is one of our earliest demonstrators of our display technology, but still very appreciated. Otherwise, the electrochromic displays, what market needs is behind it. I think it's market needs that are really addressing a lot of the challenges in the healthcare sector and the medical technology sector. And it's a display that is really energy efficient. And that is critical in many of the medtech devices that are used today, where you have a battery that should last for a very, very long time. And one of the things that often affect the lifetime is the display and the need for the display to have energy to function. And then we have an alternative display technology now that is super low in energy consumption. And then it's also about simplicity, the visual interface with digits or symbols that could be easily understood. And also one really important thing is that it's thin and it's flexible, as you can see if you can see me on the camera here. And this flexibility, I think, is also important in many medtech devices, where you would like to have the form factor to shape it around, perhaps like different syringes or injectors or sprays or so, where you would need an indicator that it's on or showing the status of how many units you have left or so for the user. So it's really a display that can be easily integrated into a medtech device with its form factor and its low power consumption. And also very important, it's cost competitive. And that's also a crucial part of it, that it can be produced effectively and also to have a low cost. And then also coming up here in many of the cases that it's an eco-friendly technology with organic materials. Not only the display itself, but using less power than other displays, it could allow you to have less batteries in your device. And that is also very important if you think about the environment. So the electrochromic display, it's built up by using printing, and we built it up by structuring it layer by layer in a vertical stack like this, where we could have electrolyte and an electrochromic layer creating the display together with the electrodes in a very simple sketch. And the simplicity is also the strength of our display, allowing, as you can see down to the left in this picture, the display to be flexible as well, since it's then printed onto plastic or paper or other flexible substrates. Can of course also be printed on glass. And the printing we use is a very regular printing, and it's called screen printing, really old and conventional printing methodology. And these print houses, they are spread around the globe and could be easily to adopt this technology with some training and perhaps in some cases some upgrading of the technology. But going back to the power, because that is one of the really unique selling points of this display technology. You could use, if you use a coin cell, you could get this display to be driven over 50 years. So it's really a low power and low voltage display technology. And what we have seen, it's absolutely the most energy efficient display on the market today. And this allows also to use this display technology without using a battery perhaps, and only harvest energy. Here is an example where we harvest the energy from near field communication, which could be found also in many mobile phones and other devices. So you don't have to have a battery. And here, if you could see my screen, is the device shown in how it looks when it's naked, so to say. So it's really simple, and you have the form factor, and it could be suited into any device. So the electrochromic display, it's economical for industrial printing. It has the lowest power consumption on the market. It's flexible and easy to adopt to any production. And also it has a lot of interfaces with what we call the Internet of Things, where you often would like to have connection to get data assembled and so on, but you also like to have a small display on your device to understand by just looking at the device. Is it on or is it off? Or just to easily understand how many units is it left? Is it enough for my next? Do I need to change or switch out the what I'm taking? For myself, I'm a type 1 diabetic since I was 15 years old, and I use medical devices every day, and I could really tell that it's super important with the display on the device to actually understand these simple things, and it makes it so much easier if you have a display. At the same time, it should be a discrete display, because it's not always that you want to walk around and show that you're wearing, like in my case, a sensor on my arm or things like this, but to give you a simple interaction with your daily tool that you are using. At the same time, it's an IoT device, so you can save all the data and so on. So as a user of medical devices in health applications, you really appreciate this thin form factor and the discrete way of the electrochromic display of showing if it's on or not and number of units that is left. And I would like to give you some examples of our display technology. And one that we have been working with throughout this year and so is a temperature label. And it's here, and it's actually being a product that you can actually buy if you like to have a temp tag as an indicator. And we use it also to really show the electrochromic display technology in a real use case. And I think it's a really good example. You could see the display here that is being used in this display. And this is how it looks when it's naked without any cover on it. And there you can see how easily the display can be integrated into the device. And so this is actually a product that function. It has several settings that you can configure it for different temperature and time intervals. And it can then see if you have exceeded a threshold or if it's above or below. And it's very easy to read out and understand for anyone working in a cold chain. And you don't need any type of device to read out or so. So it's a simple device that can really be used. And I show it because it's also showing a platform of printed and hybrid technology, which I think this webinar is about and what we are discussing here today. So instead of having perhaps a thermistor showing temperature on a device like this, it could be any type of sensor. It could be a biosensor, glucose, of course, but also for others, and then be integrated into devices that could be used for distributed diagnostics or so, where the display could be a very important indicator showing that you have really filled up the samples as you should, or showing the result if you want to have that. So it could be several use cases and applications of the display technology in these type of devices. But it could also be used in animal health or so, just as we have stated here, as an indicator and an easy way of interacting with for the user and understanding if it's true. One sensor that I would like to really show an example is developed by a Swedish company called Absorbest. They work with absorbents, and they have used this display technology, and they have done this together with a Swedish research institute called RISE. And they have integrated this electrochromic display technology into absorbents and made it an all-printed system where the display is triggered when the absorbent is filled with the wound fluid, so to say. And then the display is lighting up. And it's a cheap, simple system. And they are looking now to realize it and put it into market. I think it's a brilliant example of a good use case of the electrochromic display in healthcare applications. Then, since we're talking about manufacturing and high volumes and hybrid manufacturing, I would just give an example of how we could create this type of system like this temperature tag, for example. So you always start with the substrate, and that's what you have here in this slide. And then we print some silver conductors. And on top of that, we print some carbon. and we print the electrolyte and the electrochromic layer. And then also we print the mask lacquer. And there you have the display integrated now with the connectors. And then we also use assembly to mount the chip and the sensor in this case. And then also in this case we use to mount a battery. You could also choose to actually print the battery if you have that type of material and so. But for this specific product, we have chosen to assemble the battery. And then you have a graphical overlay. So it's not more difficult than that to actually create your printed hybrid systems. And this can, as I said, be then deployed for many different applications and not only for measuring temperature. And to do this, we have a roll-to-roll production capability of our display technology to scale it up and to be able to produce it in millions.
Okay, 5 minutes, Tommy.
Yes, so I'm quite close now to ending it. So in our production line, we have a roll-to-roll print line where we can do screen printing, gravure printing, slot die coating, and flexo printing. So all these print methods, they are not needed for printing the displays. Then we use the screen printing. But all the print methods allows us to also do printing of other types of printed electronics and functional printing. So we do also offer some subcontracting for others where we do printed and hybrid electronics. And then we also have a conversion line where we can singulate and kiss cut and die cut the rolls when they are ready. And also we have roll-to-roll testers where we can test every component electrically and actually visually as well for the displays. And I want to share with you a video that will not take long to show our capabilities.
I am Tommy Höglund and I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Ynvisible and the Managing Director for Ynvisible Production AB. At Ynvisible Production, we are helping other companies scaling up their business and bringing their products into high volume. The electrochromic display is thin, lightweight, flexible, and has a really low power consumption, allowing you to have a visual interface on almost any product. And really important, it can be produced in high volumes in roll-to-roll production. Roll-to-roll production is basically high volume production, where you can print continuously, for example, electrochromic displays, but also other printed electronics components and systems. We also offer roll-to-roll tester, where we can test each and every component.
Whatever we print in our printing line, we test it here first before we deliver to our customer. And we mark the ones that has not passed the test so that we can avoid using those 5% bad ones or less than 5% bad ones at our customers. And it's very, very useful for our quality control.
After we have printed it, we can also convert it, which means we can laminate on adhesives or barrier films. We can die and kiss cut to singulate the product, and we can slit it into single track rolls.
We have the capabilities in our equipment, but most of all in our very competent personnel. And their competence also allows them to provide the tech transfer sometimes needed to other companies and production sites. Using our roll-to-roll capabilities with both printing and testing, we are today delivering commercial products to our customers. And we are now scaling up, and we can help you through every stage of the process to bring your product to the market.
So that was a bit of a summary of what I've been talking about today here in my presentation. But the really important summary is that printed electrochromics is breaking through now. At Ynvisible, we have never had more customers than we have today. And we see a huge interest in our display technology. And it's really easy if you would like to investigate how you can start using the electrochromic display technology in your products. Because we can help you all the way from idea to production and mass production. So please don't hesitate, but take contact with us, and we're happy to help you out whatever stage you're in. Thank you for my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Tommy, very much. And I think you made your time just on time. And I had you also one question related that how do you see the future? And because I know that you have a long experience for the printed technologies and this kind of technologies, but you already answered to my question that you are now very busy with the new type of products coming in, and happy to hear that.
Yeah. So we have really seen an increase in the number of requests from different application areas, you could say, and so.
Yeah.
But we still do see that there is a huge, I would say, potential in the health sector and medical device sector of these really simple displays. Sometimes just as an indicator, perhaps, or so.
Yeah.
Or showing simple things that how many units is left, and these things. So yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and hope for the scaling up cases for you.
Yes. Thanks a
Okay.
lot.
Then we have last but not least presentation coming from Canatu, Ilkka, Varjos, improving cost, time and performance with nanocarbon-based point-of-care diagnostics. And you are almost ready to go.
Thank you. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see the screen, so please.
Thank you very much, Ilkka. So yes, indeed, I come from Canatu, and I'm explaining you today how you can improve cost, time and performance with our nanocarbon-based point-of-care diagnostics. So as you probably very well know, over the last couple of decades, the misuse of opioids has increased significantly. In USA alone, there is like more than 30,000 opioid overdose-related mortalities per year. And this has also enormous price tag to the society. It is estimated to cost tens of billions of dollars per year in USA alone. So against this background, it's pretty obvious that there is a need for system that can accurately detect the amount of opioids in the bloodstream, and it has to be fast, and it has to be mobile, and it has to be cheap enough so it can be scaled to wide use. The current quantitative measurement systems, the laboratory-based systems, they fail to deliver that because they are expensive, they are bulky, and they are slow. And there is also like a point-of-care systems at the moment, but those on the other hand, they are only qualitative, so they will tell if the person has taken opioids or if not, but they don't like accurately give you the concentration of the opioids in the bloodstream. And there is also need for this kind of systems in therapeutical use, whether it's in pain clinics or surgery rooms, or whether it's intended for, let's say, home care. And that's the reason comes from being able to like monitor the safe amount of safe dosage of opioids and other painkillers for each individual patient. So for this reason, we have developed exactly that, what is needed. So point of care sensor, which can quantitatively measure the concentration of painkillers like opioids in the bloodstream, and it's based on electrochemical sensing principle. So this rapid detection system can detect quantitatively the amount of opioids in the bloodstream from a whole blood sample. Just few drops of blood is needed for the measurement. It's relatively low cost, and it's also convenient to use as the user interface is a standard smartphone. And if we look into further details of how this device works, on the bottom left corner you can see a picture of such a test strip. It's basically a plastic strip which has the CMP carbon nanopod sensor printed onto it. Also, there's screen printed silver contacts, silver traces that are that connect the test strip to the reader. And how it works is that the person has to take just a small blood sample from the fingertip, just like in glucose sensors, and drop those few drops of blood to the sensor area, to the CMP area. What I failed to mention that there's also, besides this silver traces, there is printed filter layer and printed encapsulation layer. Now that the blood is dropped to the sensor is plugged into a reader, and the reader is plugged into a mobile phone USB port. And the reader modulates the voltage over the sensor, and oxidation of the analytes happen. So that's the electrochemical principle. And the oxidation potential will speak for the opioids that are sensed from this sample. And note that there can be several different opioids sensed with one sensor strip. And then the oxidation peak, so the current running to the reader, will speak for the quantitative amount of the opioid or opioids sensed. So all this is enabled by this unique nanocarbon material that Canatu has discovered. It was discovered a little bit more than 10 years ago, and what it really is, it is a novel or unique molecular structure of carbon. It consists of carbon nanotube with fullerene that is covalently bonded to the side. And as you can see from this microscope image on the right, the aspect ratio of this material is very unique. It's only like a couple of nanometers in diameter, but it can be microns or even tens of microns long. And as a thin film, it has a list of unique properties. For one, this network, this thin film is stretchable, so that you can stretch it up to several hundreds of percents and still remain electrically conductive. It's also flexible, so you can flex it like numerous times, like hundreds of thousands of times over extremely small radius, and still you remain conductive. So yes, it's conductive, it's electrically conductive, and it's also thermally conductive. And as a thin film, it's transparent and it's clean. And by what I mean by this is that traditionally nanocarbon materials such as carbon nanotubes, they have, because of the manufacturing process, they have a buildup of different kind of impurities on their sides, such as surfactants and other additives, and also amorphous carbon. But due to our special process of synthesizing this nanocarbon, the sides of these nanotubes are extremely clean and defect-free. And the synthesis of this material, as well as the material structure itself and the printing process of the material, as well as range of different applications related to it, are patented, and the patents are owned by Canatu. So indeed, this material, due to its special properties, can be utilized in several different applications, and as well as electrochemical sensing, which will be the focus of this talk. So then on to why this material is good for electrochemical sensing. For one, it has extremely high surface area, and this can be understood if you look at the picture on the right, where you see this fibrous network made by printing this CMP material, which again has only this couple of nanometers in diameter size. So against this, it's easy to understand that the surface area in this porous nanocarbon structure is extremely large, which provides a very large contact area with the analyte as well. And then the surfaces are clean as explained due to the special process making this material, the unique process of making this material, which provides also very good contact with the analyte, because there's nothing in between, no like impurities between the analyte and the CMB electrode. And because of the long length of these nanopod molecules, I mean, nanopod molecules themselves have like better conductivity than copper. So as we have very long nanopods, the overall conductivity of this film is very good. And all of these properties result in better sensitivity, also high sensitivity and low detection limit of the analyte. So it can sense even small traces of these opioids in the blood sample. And some of the opioids that have been verified to be able to sense with the material is morphine, codeine, and oxycodone. Okay, now this pros. Okay, here we go. So to validate these claims, we have carried out the benchmarking test, and in the benchmarking test, we chose graphene, or more accurately, reduced graphene oxide as an electrode material or sensor material, and we bought this from one of the leading commercial graphene sensor manufacturers. And why we chose graphene? It's because if you look into today's publications and news, etc., graphene is perhaps the most promising material for electrochemical sensing, and you get one publication per day almost from this topic. So we wanted to compare against best, and here are the results. And if you look at the sensitivity, both have good sensitivity, and yeah, sorry, I failed to mention that morphine is the analyte that we used in these tests. So both of these are pretty sensitive for morphine, but the sensitivity of CMP sensor is 2 times higher than the sensitivity of graphene sensor. And more importantly, or more notably, the repeatability from sensor to sensor in sensitivity was like 5 times lower with our sensor material and sensors than with graphene. And then if we look at the background current, which in layman's terms could be called noise, you can see that there is 10 times lower background with our CMP sensor. And what that means is that you can get much lower, actually 80 times lower limit of detection with CMP sensors compared to these graphene sensors. And if you look at the same in a graphical format, you can see here is on the left side you have this commercial graphene sensor, and you can see the background current as a red slope here. And in these tests, we tried to reduce the background by running several calibration rounds, so like measurement cycles with buffer solution alone. And even after several backgrounds or calibration runs, which basically takes minutes to carry out, there is still high background, which prevents the sensing peaks with the real analyte to like separate out, or to separate from the background, which means the signal to noise is bad. And compared to CMBs, where the background is very low already from the beginning, you get much better signal to noise. So this results in a lower detection limit with morphine. And if we compare our technology to the already established test methods, so the laboratory-based systems and already established point-of-care qualitative test strips, you notice that against the existing quantitative methods, the time needed for one test is much lower. In our case, it's just a couple of minutes, whereas it's hours with these laboratory tools. And even with the existing point-of-care qualitative systems, we compare by having a faster measurement. And the device cost is like orders of magnitude lower compared to these expensive laboratory tools, and in the same range than with these existing qualitative point of care systems. And this results in a cost per test, which is like order of magnitude lower with this our system compared to the existing quantitative systems, and in the same range than with the existing qualitative systems. And one important thing to notice is that as our sensor only needs these few drops of blood, it doesn't take a like skilled expert to take the measurement, like is the case with these laboratory-based quantitative systems, where, let's say, larger ample of blood is needed for the measurement. Few words about Canatu itself. So Canatu is not a startup. We have been in mass production with these CMP films and sensors, touch sensors for automotive industry for 5 years now. So we have this around 3,000 square meter factory in Finland, which is operating in clean room environment. And there we have both seat to seat and roll to roll manufacturing lines for the CMP films. We also have a mass production capability for sensors, meaning that once this product is validated and there's customer demand, we can produce already with the existing capacity millions and millions of these per year. And lastly, we don't see this sensor technology only suited for painkillers and opioids. We see this as a platform technology, and the reason for that is that the carbon structure and can be modified and can be altered in many different ways. For instance, we can functionalize it by adding different kind of molecular structures onto it, and this way make it selective and make it sensitized towards different analytes. So it can be used for wide range of diagnostics, and against this background, it's easy to imagine that as you can see on the right side, you could make a lab-on-chip system with where you have printed several of these different kind of CMP sensors, and with which from a small amount of blood you could make a range of different kind of diagnostics and have a wide spectrum of tests done. And also for the reason that our material is stretchable and very thin, it's easy to imagine that this could make a very good, or wearable skin sensors would be very good application, because you could comfortably wear this sensor, and also because it can sense small traces of the analytes you could measure from your sweat, things like glucose or some other chemicals. So this is what I had in mind for this session, and if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Ilkka. It seems that first to the automotive sector and now to the diagnostic sectors, the adventure is ongoing.
Yeah, there's a lot of different applications where we think that this material can be revolutionary. So we just have to be careful because we are still a relatively small company, careful in picking our battles.
Yeah. Okay, there are not any other questions coming from. There is one question now just came from Tommy Höglund that is the Canatu sensor in market application already or on its way?
It's on its way. We just started the clinical studies in Helsinki University Hospital this fall. So that's the status. But yeah, there's the still those verifications needed. But it is, of course, our target to get it on the market as soon as possible.
Yes. Okay, let's hope for the success that there will be products on the market soon. And with this presentation, we will stop our or end our session on printed diagnostics and 3D printing. And as you know, there will be in the COMPAMED High-Tech Forum organized by IVAM, there will be a lot of more this kind of sessions. So just go in and enjoy. But thank you for our side. Thank you for all the presenters and thank you for the organizers. And have a nice autumn. Bye-bye.